Hi, everyone. This is a surprise pop-up. Um, a bunch of you had asked about uh, cultivating a choral culture, what that means. Um, we had a poll in Choral Clarity about 2.5 weeks ago, and that was the topic that the most people were interested in. And I figured I would just do a little pop-up and talk briefly about choral culture, what it means, and sort of get the ball rolling in terms of thinking about um, how we could create a positive learning environment for everybody. So first of all, thank you for joining in. Thank you, Rihanna, for coming in, being the first person. This is a surprise pop-up here. I'm lucky that my daughter fell asleep earlier than usual. I usually wait for my 3-year-old to fall asleep, and then I start writing my blog or writing music and doing all of that fun stuff. Today, unfortunately, she wasn't feeling well, so I got in a little bit earlier, and I felt that it would be a good time to get a start. So the whole concept of cultivating a choral culture, this is really about your vision of what you expect or want your program to be. How do you envision your choir to look? How do you expect your choir to be in its most ideal form? And thank you, Rihanna. I appreciate that. So if you could fast forward 20 years from now, and if you're going to be staying at the same job, this is my 21st year at the same school, same job. If you could fast forward 20 years from now and envision your program the way you want it, what would the rehearsal look like? Maybe even with the sound off, what would the rehearsal look like? How would people be sitting? How would they be singing? Would their mouth be wide open? What would they be doing when you stopped? How would they be responding toward one another? How would they be answering questions? How would they be entering the room? How would the pacing work in the group? How well would they sight read? How well developed would their ears be? How motivated would they be? All of these things, these advanced things, are the culture, the long-term culture. How connected are the students to one another? How much do they love singing? How much do they feel like they're part of a community? How involved are they within the community? How often are they singing outside of the classroom? How self-motivated are they to learn? All of these big picture things. So we take that end goal, whatever it is that we envision, and we say, well, what are the tangible steps we can take from now to get there long term? Now, there are many steps over the course of time that will get us there, and missteps as well, of course. But there are fundamentals that are the same no matter what. Some things, no matter how you want your program to run, assuming you want a well-run program of some sort, it doesn't matter if you're talking band or orchestra or vocal jazz or a cappella or choir, whatever it might be, there are certain fundamentals. And I'm going to talk about that right now as a starting point. So we talk about what does it mean to have a positive learning environment. And that starts from students feeling safe and secure. And Alexander Maslow, he has a hierarchy of needs, and it's obviously much larger than choir. It's for life. But if we start with this fundamental concept that in order to progress anywhere, we need to have food, clothing, shelter, water, and so on. And that is the fundamental level of living. If we want to live, we need food, clothing, shelter, water, and all of that stuff. But then we get to the next level, and the next level is feeling safe and secure. Now, in a choir, what does that mean? It doesn't mean safe and secure. It doesn't mean that we lock the doors. This is not about being safe from from an intruder or from an earthquake. This is being safe in a learning environment. And being safe in a learning environment is about creating all of the structure needed for students to know that they are in a place where they are going to feel safe. Okay. Now, the big issue that I find with choral directors who are really motivated, and again, band directors, orchestra directors, and so on, this is not limited just to choir. The biggest issue I find is that they try to make things fun as their first priority. They try to do fun icebreakers and social events and all of these fun things, fun activities in class. And I'm not saying that they don't work. You could do something fun. You could do an icebreaker. I do icebreakers too during class. But until students feel safe and secure, they are not going to be comfortable. So asking them to break out of their comfort zone when they aren't first safe really hinders the success rate of the entire group. The students who have already broken free are the ones that take the risks in a social activity. But the ones that are introverted, the ones that are afraid that when they speak, somebody's going to laugh at them, or they're afraid to leave the room to go to the bathroom because they're afraid that people are going to make fun of them when they walk out, or they don't know where they're going to sit because if they sit in the wrong spot, they're going to be next to somebody that doesn't like them, somebody that's going to say something or make them feel uncomfortable. All of these situations take away from a student's ability to feel safe. So as a teacher, our first goal, assuming our students have food, clothing, water, shelter, all the basics, our first goal is to do everything we can to ensure that they feel safe. For me, that is creating a routine, that they have a home, they have a specific spot that's their spot. They know what to do if they need to go to the bathroom. They know what to do when the class starts. They don't have to make eye contact with students on the first day. They don't have to worry about where they're going to sit. They know how they're going to enter the room. They know how the rehearsal is going to end. They know what the rules of the classroom are. I call them guidelines, but they have a good sense of understanding what the guidelines are. They know what the consequences are. They know what the important procedures are. And we work really, really hard to teach that, all of those things, day after day after day, until that becomes the culture or that becomes the norm. And once that happens, students start to loosen up. They start to relax. They start to ask questions. They start to stay after class to ask more one-on-one questions. They sing right when the bell rings. They continue singing because they feel good about themselves. They feel good about the experience. They start talking to other people in the group that they'd never spoken to before. And this transition for the new students really takes, in my program, it takes a good 3 or 4 weeks before there's a real sense of safety. So that concept of safety first, which of course we hear all the time everywhere, safety first, we don't think of it in our program because we think, oh, our kids are safe. They walk into a safe building and they have a teacher there, but that's not really what safety means to a high school student or a middle school student. Safety is free from ridicule, free from being picked on, free from feeling like they're failing with the wrong answer, saying the wrong thing, their voice cracking, all of those things. So once we get past safety, then we start to move on to comfort. And comfort and belonging is where the students really start to connect to each other as a family. And so once they connect, hey Ed, once they connect as a family, which is really the third level of the hierarchy. First, we're talking about basic needs, then we're talking about safety, and now we're talking about belonging and comfort. And once we're in this comfort zone, now the icebreakers work. Now the social activities, the bonding, the movie night, the barbecue, all of these fun activities are really successful. Now, to be clear, I'm not stating that we shouldn't have a barbecue at the beginning of the school year. I'm not stating that we shouldn't do an icebreaker. But what I am stating is until the students feel safe and secure, the ones that don't are going to become introverted. They're going to shy away from taking risks. And we might perceive the students that are stepping up as the good students and the students that are introverted as the ones that don't care. And the reality is those students that are perceived as not caring are the ones that just don't feel safe yet in our environment. So we need to focus on building that environment, building the safety net first in our programs. Now, when we have a select group, a chamber group, a top group, that's a little bit different because in that environment, we most likely have all students that are continuing and they know the drill, they know us, they know what's expected, they have all that down. And that's why an icebreaker works. That's why shoving music at them that's difficult works. But that's not most kids. Most kids are not in a select group. Just by sheer numbers, what does select mean? We're plunking kids out. So we're talking about the majority of students that happen to show up, that happen to want to sing. So we've discussed belonging, first safety and then belonging. And then after belonging comes achievement. That's when we start talking about how do we get students to achieve? And again, they're going to really start to achieve once they feel like they belong, once they feel like they're contributing, they're making a difference. So now we get to achievement, and these students see teamwork. They understand the idea of teamwork because now they are a community. They have collective goals, and they're motivated by collective goals. But then the final step is the self-actualization and the achievement that goes far beyond what we're teaching them. It's essentially empowering them to learn rather than teaching them. So that doesn't come until we've established safety, which takes a solid amount of time. In my program, both choirs are self-selected. So my 9th and 10th grade treble choir, all of the 9th graders are new. Some of the 10th graders are new. And so every year we spend so much time on building that safety net, that safety zone. In my mixed choir, which is 11th and 12th grade girls and all of the boys, every year the 9th grade boys are new, and some of the other students are new, maybe 15 new students. So I don't spend quite as much time, but I do reach out in great lengths to the newest members to try and reach them, to make sure they're feeling comfortable. I have my section leaders reaching out to them, and we're doing everything we can to make sure the newest members are feeling like they're part of that community after they feel safe, after those freshmen feel like they're not being picked on by the seniors, that the seniors are supporting them and cultivating the culture of what the choir is and letting them know that they're going to succeed, that the things that are difficult, they're going to be able to learn. So we've worked on safety, then we've worked on belonging, and then we start working on collective achievement, which is obviously reached at some level when we get to a concert. When you see a successful concert, you see that there is an achievement, a group, there's a pride from the group. When you see pride on that stage, you know that there's achievement. You know there's community. You know they feel safe. And then after that, it's how do we get them to self-actualize? How do we get them to want to be more than what we can give them? Because YouTube, for example, has endless resources. If they like a song that we're teaching them, they could go onto YouTube and hear 50 recordings of that one piece. If we tell them about a piece of solo repertoire, they could go online, they could hear endless recordings. They don't need to learn from us. They need to be inspired by us. But again, they won't be inspired until they feel safe, they feel like they belong, and they're starting to achieve. So it's this hierarchy that has to happen if we want all of our students to succeed. So I'm going to leave this picture because I'm going to talk more about this in future future Facebook Live events. And when I say future, I mean the next time my daughter goes to sleep early. So it could be tomorrow, it could be the next day. I'm not all that good with planning when it comes down to Facebook Live events. This is only my second one, but it is fun. I'm enjoying the fact that I can reach out, and I hope people ask questions, even if it's after the fact, if you're watching this tomorrow or the next day or next week. But I'm going to leave you with the concept that if we're always thinking about the hierarchy of needs, and we think about this from the aspect of every student, our strongest singer to our weakest singer, our senior who's going to be going off to college as a music major to a freshman who is learning disabled or has a disability that prevents them, or at least initially prevents them from being successful. We need to reach every single student in terms of creating a safe environment, making them feel like they belong, or allowing them to belong, I should say, and then setting them up for success. And success doesn't mean that they're going to be singing a solo at Carnegie Hall. Success means that we've set tangible goals, tangible musical goals and skills that they are able to achieve, and therefore build confidence in themselves. Therefore, they will then be more motivated to move on to the level of self-actualization and want to do more and more and more on their own, to the point where they're coming and they're absorbing like a sponge from what we're giving, because everything we give them is exciting and new. And then they want to ask more questions, and they want to do more and more outside and inside the program. So that is the big picture of cultivating a choral culture. The details we're going to talk about more step by step, and I look forward to it. And what I'd love for you to do, if you like this video, please click like so I know that you do like it, and either ask questions here or tell me what you would like me to discuss in greater depth, so I can really make sure that I reach you all where it's most important. So I thank you all, and I look forward to your comments. Thanks.